Week, the sparks were really flying for the Kodak Southeast Series. 33 drivers took the green flag at Nashville, but it was 20-year-old Charlie Bradbury who dominated the event. The Alabama native led every lap on the way to his first series win. Will he make music tonight in Kentucky? Find out next on Fox Sports Net. Hello, everybody. It is a great night for racing here in Kentucky. The Lexington Herald Leader presents the Kentucky 150 in the Kodak Southeast Series at the Kentucky Speedway. I'm Mike Hogwood. Phil Parsons is alongside. Glenn Jarrett down on pit road. Oh, this is going to be some race tonight, Phil.
Mike, these cars will run wide open every lap. They have restrictor plates. They run 156 or 7 miles an hour. They run wide open every lap.
Let's head down to Glenn Jarrett to talk about our pole sitter. Glenn?
On the pole tonight is Series Super Speedway ace Scott Carlson in number 57. He won here at Kentucky last August. He loves super speedways. On the outside of him is short track ace Randy Gentry in 09. Two entirely different career types on the front row. Should be fun to watch. The race tonight is 100 laps, which is 150 miles. Fuel-wise, they should have to make one stop. They can only go about 100 to 120 miles. Tire management is probably going to be the key to tonight's race. These guys like to run these cars a little bit loose because they're running the restrictor plate. Loose race car, they can keep the engine revved up a little more. You have to take care of your tires. This should be a lot of fun to watch, guys.
I agree, Glenn. Scott Carlson on the pole, third last week in Nashville. Randy Gentry alongside. Then it's Stanley Smith, the veteran, and young Joey Miller in a Chevy.
Eddie Mercer won here last year. Jeff Fultz and Charlie Bradbury have already won this year.
John Wilkinson's a veteran driver, but a rookie in this series on row 5. Eric Darnell out of the Midwest on row 6.
Travis Geisler, 9th last time out, and David Ruderman, that runner-up last year in the points.
On row 9, Tommy Owens and Shane Sieg, who had a couple of top 5s a year ago. Dusty Williams and Roger Parker in row 10.
Gary Helton, 4th last time out at Nashville, and Stephen Howard, winner earlier this year at Greenville.
Row 13, A.J. Frank, a top 10 last week at Nashville. Kevin Clark, Wayne Bowen, and Chevy's on row 14.
Jason Hoagman, 3rd at South Boston earlier this year, and Ken Weaver was 4th here in 2000.
On row 17, Tim Sauter and Jared Roby, his 3rd year in the series. Craig Smith, Howard Bixman on row 18, and from Spring Hill, Kansas, Ronnie White on row 19. Let's go back down to Glenn Jarrett.
David Ruderman made a last-minute pit stop right before the race started, guys. He thought he felt the throttle catching maybe on the air cleaner, on the front of the air cleaner. So they came in. His dad is the crew chief, Buzzy Ruderman. They checked it out. They said maybe one of the springs was kind of hanging up on it. They got that all cleared up. Buzzy told him not to worry about it. If the throttle hung wide open, he could just pass more cars faster. But he does have to go to the rear of the field.
And not a great way to start the race for David Ruderman. We're about ready to take the green flag here. On the front row, it's Scott Carlson in the 57, Randy Gentry in the 09. It's a gorgeous racetrack, plenty of room to race. These guys, as Phil said, will hold it wide open, and the green flag is out here in Kentucky.
Good early jump by Randy Gentry on the outside there. What a terrific jump on the start.
Gentry, who had a win in 2001, second in the points that year out of Easley, South Carolina. Look at this, 5-6 wide, wow.
Unbelievable. Scott Carlson fighting back for the lead on the outside, though.
That silver car is veteran from Chelsea, Alabama, Stanley Smith.
Scott Carlson's going to get credit for leading this lap, but 3 guys actually led this first lap.
Carlson, you see out front in the 57. Smith and Gentry side by side. Or there is the 15 of Joey Miller, 18 years old, out of Minnesota.
What an incredible performance for this 18-year-old. I mean, again, we've only run 1 lap, Mike. Look at 3 wide going in turn 3.
Wow, some great racing early here in this Kodak Southeast Series. Carlson out in front, and right behind him you see that mad scramble for position.
We're seeing 2, 3, 4. We saw 5 wide down the backstretch. Tremendous racing here. These guys run flat out every lap, inside, outside, middle, flat out.
In the middle of your screen there is Stanley Smith, who may be best known for a terrific crash he had Talladega back in the early 90s. Alan Carnes off the pace just a little bit out of Sharpsburg, Georgia. Started in the 23rd position, but he is dropping way, way back. No caution is out. Still under green. We'll be back with more racing from Kentucky in just a moment. Welcome back to Kentucky. The Kentucky 150 at the beautiful Kentucky Speedway. Scott Carlson, the pole sitter, is out in front, and behind him, though, there is a mad scramble. There's Miller, number 15. The 59 is John Wilkinson III from Hueytown, Alabama, a rookie in this series, but a veteran driver.
Here's Charlie Bradbury in the 78 car right behind Joey Miller. Charlie won in dominating fashion last time out at Nashville.
And was really excited about his chances here. There on the inside goes young Joey Miller out of Minnesota, and boy, he doesn't seem to be intimidated at all here in his first start in this series.
Not at all. Running the outside groove, inside groove right now, on the inside of John Wilkinson in a good battle for second position. You know, you see these guys, they're running wide open every lap, so how are they able to pull out? These guys get some effect of the draft here because these cars are restricted. They've got a 27-30 seconds restrictor plate. So every little bit of air helps. So these guys, you know, they get a little sniff of draft and they can pass somebody.
And you see Bradbury trying to make a move there on John Wilkinson III. Miller right ahead of them in that red 15. And the points leader, Jeff Fultz, running in 5th place. He's in that blue 54 car.
Side by side for 4th right now.
Well, the story here early in the race, besides our pole sitter, Scott Carlson, has been young Joey Miller. For more on him, let's go down and check in with Glenn.
The number 15 car driven by Joey Miller. This is his first ever race at Kentucky Speedway. He had never seen this place. He is 18 years old, from Minnesota. He's a farm boy. He ran locally, mostly up around the Minnesota area. He went to Texas last week and raced in a race at Texas Motor Speedway just so he could qualify according to NASCAR standards and come here to Kentucky to race tonight. 18-year-old, up to second place. He's dropped back to third now, but he's still in second, doing a whale of a job. In fact, he is gaining on Scott Carlson, who has a world of super speedway experience. Keep your eye on that number 15, guys.
We will, Glenn. And matter of fact, talk about Carlson. He won the last race here at this Kentucky Speedway back last August and brought the same car here. Seems dominant. It will be interesting to see if Miller is able to catch up with him.
You remember Carlson had a good run at Nashville. He started last. He had a problem qualifying. Actually spun out qualifying, started last and drove all the way to third with only one caution flag. So he has a great super speedway program.
Scott Carlson out of Pensacola, Florida, 45 years old. Remember Joey Miller, only 18. Back in the pack just a little bit, the battle for ninth. Ryan Smith is the 0 car out in front of that pack. Smith out of Mooresville, North Carolina.
Another Smith, Stanley Smith, right behind him, will be for the 10th position.
You mentioned the restrictor plates, Phil, and for a driver on a track this wide with this much room, there really is a little bit a different racing style from the short tracks that they go to so often on this.
It sure is. Again, these guys really, as Glenn talked about earlier, they try to get these cars as loose as they can get them because they're running wide open. If you get these cars tight, then you're going to scrub off speed because you're going to get on the right front tire, and that's going to slow these cars down. So they want to get them as free as they can, as neutral as they can, and that's so much different than how they do on a short track.
And Phil, I know it's probably early in this race to really start talking about this, but I'm talking to some of these guys before the race, and they say, hey, we may try to go this race if there are no cautions, which is very unlikely, without a fuel stop. And I'm wondering that if they're drafting here, the guys behind, are they conserving fuel a little?
I think they definitely are. And plus the 27-30 seconds is a little smaller restrictor plate than they had last week at Nashville. So they're going to get a little bit of fuel mileage because of the restrictor plate. This race is 17 miles longer than the Nashville race was. We saw several guys make it at Nashville with only a few caution laps. But here they're running wide open, so they're going to use a little more fuel because they're running wide open. So I'm not sure if they can make it or not, but I think some guys may try it if we don't get any caution flags.
Well, and that's still a big if. There's the battle for third place you're watching. Let's head down to Glenn.
As number 54, Jeff Fultz takes third place from Bradbury. This is a guy you need to watch, too. Jeff has 2 career victories here at Kentucky Speedway. He is the defending series champion. He is also the points leader right now with 1 victory already this year at South Boston, Virginia. And of all the drivers in the field, he has won more money in this series than anybody else, nearly $500,000. That's a lot of dough for a regional series, guys.
I'll say we'll keep our eye on Jeff Fultz, as Glenn said. Won twice here in 2001 and finished second here in both events last year, so he knows his way around this racetrack.
Jeff's originally from nearby Cincinnati, so he told me earlier he's got a couple hundred people, friends and family here, so he obviously wants to put it on a good show for them, and is so far.
Series champion in 2002. Are we going to have a battle for the lead? There's the difference. Joey Miller running second. It's Carlson, the pole sitter, who is out front. And one of our cars who started up front is having trouble, Glenn.
Outside pole sitter Randy Gentry brings his car in. He's already fallen a lap behind. We talked about him being a short track ace. Randy's night has not gone well at all. From the onset of the race at the green flag, he has had engine problems. It's been skipping, missing, and he's lost power. He lost a lap, so once he lost a lap, they brought him in to see if they could diagnose the problem. The engine is shut off right now. They're looking obviously at plugs and all the electrical stuff, but a tough night for Randy Gentry. He has some sponsorship from one of the Busch Grand National regulars. Jason Keller is sponsoring a golf tournament, the Golden Bear Golf Tournament in Greenville, South Carolina later on this summer. They were having high hopes for a good finish here tonight, but the Jason Keller protege looks like he might have an early exit tonight.
Randy Gentry out of Easley, South Carolina. Keller also a South Carolinian, but looks like it's going to be a long night for Randy Gentry. More racing when we come back to Kentucky. Welcome back to Kentucky. I'm Mike Hogwood along with Phil Parsons and Glenn Jarrett. Glad to have you aboard for this Southeast Series race. Jeff Fultz, the points leader, has now moved into second place ahead of young Joey Miller.
Boy, Joey Miller lost the front end of that car. He was right behind Justin Wakefield, lost a little bit of downforce with the air off the front of the car, and just shot out right behind him. So very, very lucky right there.
And Joey Miller hanging on right now. Fultz, we've told you about his success here. He has his sights set on Carlson and trying to deal with some lap traffic right now. Johnny Frazier is that red 74, about to already a lap down. Carlson has passed him, and now Fultz is getting by him as well.
In lap traffic, if you catch them in the right place, they can actually help you because you can draft off them. You can actually pick up a little speed, save a little fuel at the same time, as long as you catch them in the right place. If they know where they're going, you know where they're going, they really shouldn't even slow you down.
And I'm still really impressed with young Miller, who you saw use that technique and has very little experience now. Bradbury also getting by the lap car. We told you about the troubles Randy Gentry, who started the front rows, having. Let's get another update on his trouble now. Here's Glenn.
Well, Randy Gentry's crew, led by his brother Roger Gentry, did find the problem on the car. The number 3 plug wire was off of it. He was only running on 7 cylinders. As I said earlier, these cars are running a restrictor plate here tonight, so only on 7 cylinders. You can imagine the horsepower problems he was having. They're disgusted with the problem, but they are glad they got it fixed. They got him back out, and he is running on all 8 cylinders.
Sometimes the fix is so simple, and for a driver, that's got to be frustrating.
Oh, you say these guys check and double check these things before the race to try to make sure all that stuff's on, and inevitably something like that can happen.
Now our leader in lap traffic, Scott Carlson, as we told you, out of Pensacola, Florida. And as Phil said earlier, started dead last week at Nashville and worked his way up to 3rd. Only 1 caution in that race. So far we've had no cautions here tonight. Here's the battle for 7th place. That's Brian Smith out of Mooresville, North Carolina, in the 0 car. Right behind him is the 7 of Eric Darnell, another young driver who's looked good in this race.
That's right. Eric's 20 years old. He's actually runs just infrequently on the Kodak Southeast Series. He leads the Wisconsin Challenge Series. He's a point leader after 4 events there. So good started in go-karts. Great racer from Illinois.
Darnell, that red 7, comes from a racing family.
That's right. His dad, Danny, is his crew chief, and his grandfather, Bay Darnell, was a longtime USAC stock car competitor. Actually ran a little Winston Cup probably back in the 60s. Great family.